And welcome back to Hour 2 of our 2 hours together here on Let's Talk. I'm your co-host, Andy Kinn, and Bill Tucker is here for us. Welcome back to Let's Talk, Hour 2 of our 2 hours together. And now we got something else interesting. A couple of weeks ago at the Bowman's...
The Preserve.
Bowman's Preserve.
Bowman's Preserve.
Right, yeah. I'd never been there before. What a great place.
Oh, no, it's a great place.
Yeah. Oh, really? You've never been?
Never. First time.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know the place, it's Bowman Hills Preserve is a really interesting nature preserve, and I'm fortunate to know somebody who volunteers there, and there are a lot of classes in terms of herbs and growing herbs and identifying different things, and they have classes for adults, and they have classes for little kids. And one of my grandsons did one of their classes, and you know, they do a really nice job. They really do a great job.
It's immersive.
Yes.
A lot of cool stuff there. And I know my friend Sheila said we have to go there hiking sometimes. It's just a cool place to go walk and hike and all that. But anyway, so I met Daniel. We were talking at this card exchange, and he's a photographer. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Were you originally from this area?
Originally, no. I'm originally from Rochester, New York.
Right.
Which I have to always, I lead with that, and I think it's an important part of my. We all have our stories. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Well, as a photographer, Rochester, New York would be yes.
Why would you say that, Bill?
I don't know, Dan. Why would you think? I don't know.
There's a connection with your father.
There's a connection with my father. My father's father, Bruce Gramkee, he was a Kodak chemist. Way back. In fact, there's an Oscar in my family. Well, it's Kodak's Oscar. So it was my grandfather's patent on non-flammable film stock. And
nice.
Back in the day, if you went to the, it was treacherous. You were kind of risking your life if you went to a film because it could burst in the flames. I think isn't that where the you can't yell fire in a theater came from. Yeah. So so it was he and his team, and they developed this non-flammable film stock, and it was Kodak's first Oscar.
Wow.
Was presented to them because of my grandfather. So I will say that photography, visual imagery is sort of in my DNA. Thanks to my grandfather.
So when did you first pick up a camera?
Well, the first time I picked up a camera was probably a Brownie when I was a little kid. But the first time I picked up a real camera was my sister's 35 millimeter in about 1984. And the first time I picked it up, I broke it.
Oops.
Well done.
Okay.
Done.
I think I'm setting myself up really well. All right?
Did you? When you picked up the camera, did you? I'm trying to think of an artful way to do this, and I don't. It's like, what fascinated you about this? Was it the camera that fascinated you, or was it the idea of developing, because of your family background, developing the film? Did that come into play for you?
That was always interesting to me, but I talked about my grandfather and the Kodak connection, but I was just always a visual artist. Like, I was always I could draw before I would have any memories.
Oh.
And I used to my mother had saved this book of drawings, and they were actually like short illustrated, today they could be little graphic novels kind of things.
Little anime,
yeah.
Okay.
I was very taken by comic strips and cartoons at the time, and then over time my drawing and just developed into portraiture, and I would make pencil sketches of, and it was always people.
Okay. What was your favorite cartoon or comic strip?
That's easy.
Yes.
Peanuts. Charles Schultz, Peanuts. And I think what I discovered was that the drawings, the imagery was wonderful, but I think I really learned what wit and dry wit is, and sarcasm, and because it's rife with that, and in fact, I think I was about, I don't know, third grade, something like that. And they used to have the Ditto paper, which had that kind of smell to it, or had that sheen and that smell. Right. The teachers would hand me like separate handoff copies of it, and I would make, and it was like, well, this is like magazine stock. So I would create these little graphic Peanuts novels. I would take the Peanuts characters, and I would put them into situations that stories of my own, based on like whatever I was absorbing pop culture wise, and there was really some, like, I I looked at some of it years later. I'm like, I kind of like had a twisted sense of.
I bet Charles Schutz would have been really proud.
He might have been. It was as a kid, I said I had that goal of I wanted when he retired, I would have loved to have slid in and taken his place. Oh, that would have been my dream. Wow. But then he did announce that when he was done with it, nobody else could take it on, and I think that makes sense actually. But so I had to find my focus.
So you picked up a camera and broke it.
Not yet. Well, that kept me away from actually film for a while because it was a little bit traumatizing. But you know what? It wasn't a Kodak camera, and maybe that's why.
That's why
that it broke so easily. But so I would do these. Well, I would do the portraits as I developed in my teens and 20s and so forth. I would do portraiture in pencil, and I would use sometimes photographs as my basis. But often, and then sometimes I have someone sit live for me. But it was always people. I was captivated just by people, and at the same time, I was also taken by the editorials in a lot of in fashion magazines, actually. Yeah. As an adolescent, and now I can acknowledge that as a gay adolescent who was closeted at the time, it was multi-layered. So I was appreciating the art. I was appreciating how that, I'd look at the light and shadow of the photograph and look at the light and shadow of my portraits. And so I used photography to learn how to, create things with my own hands. And I really got to appreciate that. And then also, I noticed that the images also elicited some kind of emotional response to me as well. Things I maybe understood or didn't understand at the time. Right. So there was a lot there, but I was very, very drawn to the visual, and then and there were photographers such as Bruce Weber was big at in the late 1970s, and Richard Avedon, and
Avedon I know, Weber I don't know.
So Weber, if you think of the Abercrombie and Fitch catalogs in the late 80s and 90s, so that's mainly what he was for. But then I was also addicted to music. The life's too short to be one thing.
Right, that's exactly. Spreading out now. Okay.
But I was always, and my favorite artist is Olivia Newton-John. Okay. And in 1981, Herb Ritts had his first big gig, which was photographing her physical LP. Right. And he had presented her in a way that nobody else had before. And I was probably as captivated by that imagery as I was by the music. And so that really set me on a sort of a trajectory of, I really like this imagery. And so in the sketches, I was focused on, that kind of, that kind of feel. And I don't really know why, but drawing takes a lot of time, and I very often would find myself just lost and never satisfied with some of my drawings, and many of them just went unfinished. But my path as an artist sort of changed course a little bit in the 80s, and I moved into theater. And so from about the mid 80s until the end of the 20th century, I pursued acting, and I rarely drew. Sometimes I drew, but I kind of moved away from the visual arts. Okay. And then I left acting in 1999, and Andy's looking at me like, "Where is the story going?" It's a path. It's a path.
Exactly.
It's a path. So we go back to 1999. It wasn't really doing much of anything. Okay. Artistic. 2001, I met my husband, and we started traveling. I picked up a camera, a Kodak. Okay. So we're back to Kodak.
We're back to Kodak,
and it didn't break. And it didn't break.
It didn't break. Okay.
And then, so I would kind of make these travelogues of our journeys and so forth, and then we would share them with people. And I think that when enough people tell you that they tell you an answer to a question you never asked any of them, you should start to listen to it. Right. I started to get unsolicited feedback about my eye, and this is really good, and wow, your composition and how you captured this, and then especially when it was relating to people, and then they told me you could pursue this as a not just as an art, but a profession. Right. And so I started to do that. We moved in 2002, and I've been living in Bucks County since then. So just across the river. And so I started pursuing life as a commercial photographer. At that time, it was in tandem with having a steady day job, if you will. But but since I've been here, I've been able to create a reputation, solidify my place as a commercial photographer of headshots, marketing, imagery, and so forth.
Okay.
But at the same time, I wanted to pursue my passion, and those images that I saw in GQ magazine and Olivia Newton-John's albums, and and so I started to take the beauty of Bucks County, where we lived, the outdoors, the covered bridges, the barns, the textures, and put these male athletes into these situations because of their textures and colors, and I just and sort of infused, and I started to create images that were, in a sense, inspired or homages to those images that I could just I can remember. It's funny. I can actually sometimes remember where I was when I saw an image a particular image for the first time.
Okay.
Like I can remember opening a magazine. It's so. I don't know, Baron, that has a.
Okay.
So, but where we're getting. So anyway, I've been since about 2008. I've been in earnest pursuing my passion of photography, and straddling both as an art, a profession. But this particular work is something that, and I think this is a good show today because you three were with Claudine talking about how throwing your art into the world is scary. How's it going to respond?
Exactly.
It is.
Yeah.
So while I was building this business of a commercial photographer, a commercial photographer, and I was trying everything. I was doing weddings. I was doing family portraits. I was doing headshots. Where was it going to land? What was going to stick? But I was also photographing these athletes, and so my husband and I kind of made the conscious decision of, well, let's kind of draw a line, because some of the emotions that I actually want people to experience with this athletes as art, as I call it, it might scare away potential commercial clients. And I was too young in the business to to have that preclude me from maybe getting jobs and things like that. So what we did was I created a trademarked brand called Corp Jock, which was a play on words. I like wordplay. So it's sort of like a shortened version of the corporate jockey, which is when I was in the corporate world, I was doing whatever I needed to do. Right. So that's so it was a sort of a pared down. So I would publish these images, but it was always under that Corp Jock monitor, and I was sort of hiding behind that and kind of keeping separate because of fear of not being able to make money as a commercial photographer or whatever, or not be accepted under
for whatever reason you created a line of division.
That
separated the two.
I absolutely did. Yeah, I absolutely did, because I don't know, I felt I needed to. And then I think also as an artist, and you talked about earlier with the book, that I don't think it transcends all artistic media, is that you're afraid of what the response might be. Sure. Even if it's a positive one. Right. I mean, even sometimes that's scary. So this show, Bucks and Bucks, is me presenting much of this work with athletes for the first time under my own name. So it's sort of a coming out. And and the month of October is appropriate for that, because October 11th is National Coming Out Day. Right. And so it all seemed to fit. And this is something that my husband and I have been talking about for years. He's been pushing me to do for years. And 2 years ago, I directed, with my friend Sharon Kaiser, a documentary about these 3 female artists on the Delaware, on the canal in New Hope. And it's a little boardwalk that's adjacent to the New Hope Arts Center. And one of them is Kathy Begg. Yes. And Kathy Begg, I'm probably familiar with Kathy's work all over. And Kathy has been we became friends because of this, the film. And she's been pushing me to do this. And so I've got 2 people pushing me. And when you didn't ask the question and people are telling you to do something, listen. Right, you should do it.
So where can we see this?
So you can see this at Kathy Begg's 43 Canal Studio. It's adjacent to the New Hope Arts Center at Bridge
On the
and
little-
Stockton Avenue. Yep.
Right.
The big stone building is the New Hope Arts Center, and then around you take a sharp right. If you're heading towards the Free Bridge, just take a sharp right at the corner of the building, and there's a little boardwalk, and you have Scrambled Gallery, Don Lillo Stained Glass, and Kathy Begg's gallery, where we will be showcasing his works.
What is there a website where people can find out more about this?
Yes, you can go to corpjock.com,
Okay.
corpjock.com, and we have the banner art there. With my real name, Daniel T. Gramkee, proudly displayed as well.
Okay. What about 43 Canal Studios? Do they have a website?
That's a good question. Canal Walk. I think Canal Walk is sort of the trinity of the three.
Okay.
I don't think Kathy has her own dedicated website per se.
Right. Okay. All right. Very good. So, speaking of this, now I've been just an amateur photographer since I was 15 years old or something too.
Sure.
Traveling, sports, hockey, baseball, tennis, my favorite sports and stuff. And I remember looking at some of the stuff that I saw that you have done. Okay. I remember certain pictures. I took a picture once, used to sit all different places at Yankee Stadium, when Reggie Jackson was playing, Lou Piniella, and I was behind the plate once, and there's the batter. You can see the batter. The ball's coming. The pitcher just released it. It looks like the pitcher's arm is made out of rubber. You don't see like this.
Yeah.
It looks like because of the angle, one leg up in the air. And there was a very famous picture of Jimmy Connors, the tennis player at the U.S. Open, too, which was like 15 feet high. And it looked like he had one arm and one leg. He was hitting the ball the way he was chasing, and just the angle of the front. And some of that stuff I thought of those two pictures when I looked at some of your stuff. The form and the movement.
I haven't even seen his work, and that's pretty impressive. You're comparing that. Those are phenomenal photographs.
I'm feeling a little humbled here.
no, but I mean your stuff. Definitely.
But wow, that's amazing.
To in one photo, one picture, to see that fluidity, that movement and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that.
Yeah, there's such the grace, and you don't get that with everybody.
Right. Exactly.
And it is all about how you align just everything, the just how you focus, what you focus on, and when you capture something, and it's
Right.
I was.
I am gonna. I just got to jump in here because earlier I was sitting here thinking it's interesting that this is a guy who focuses on people, and he moved to an area where the artistic heritage is landscape, the New Hope School of Art, which is all landscape.
Sure.
And I thought that's fascinating. And then you go, and then I wanted to put athletes in the landscape, and I thought, wow, you're just like married your vision in terms of people, or athletes in shape and form, with a distinct piece of heritage, if you will, for the artistic community here in the area that's very visual and very well known.
Yeah, well,
was it conscious on your part? That's what where I'm going.
Was it conscious? Well, if you think to particular, Herb Ritts is really he was gone too soon, but he really just is the one who inspires me the most, and he did a lot of that outdoors. With just whatever light was outdoors, and he would take landscapes, and so maybe I maybe took that sort of inspiration, and when I got here, I love the landscapes, but I love to put the people in the landscapes, and again it goes to there's texture in both, and they're different textures, but sometimes they're this but then sometimes they don't morph into each other, but they complement each other well, or they contrast each other well. And what's really interesting in this show in particular is, fortunately I've done this with athletes in a variety of environments. So this show is just, it's true to the name Bucks in Bucks. These are all photographs I took in Bucks County where I live, and but what I have, I forgot where I was going with that. But
okay, that happens. That happens to me all the time.
So
you're allowed. Yes.
I'm allowed. Okay,
right.
We can do the takeover again. Right.
Right.
You put the athletes in the landscape.
In the landscape, and I don't know. It just fit, and it works. Oh, and as I was doing the show in particular, I looked back at work that I have not looked at in a long time.
Okay.
And I rediscovered things, or sort of discovered images that I had really never seen properly before. And one is inside of one of our beautiful covered bridges, and it's the lattice work inside. And I've got these two athletes climbing up, and you just see their backs, and it's just like. But then the other thing I must say is that I do. So I work digitally now. I do work with digital tools now, but I am an analog artist. And for too long, this work has just been presented like online, and even I only looked at it on a computer or on a. So, but it's always you talk to any artist, they want to the work has to be seen and felt in in two dimensions, right? So to have put this together and put these on the media that I did, and a lot of them I actually put on metal prints, which I really find. I find they're sharp, and again I like the texture. We'll go back to the texture. Right. So you take the texture of the images and then the depth of the images, and when you put it on a metal, there's just like a strength to it, and I don't know, it just sort of seems to fit.
Okay, are there any certain places that you really like in this area that you said, but the locale that you really go back to, or you try to get like all over the place, the bridges?
I do have some favorite spots, but I'm not going to share them because I don't want anyone else to take them.
Fair enough.
You're just like fishermen. So I love to fish. Where do you fish? Well, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I have a spot. There's a spot on this river, and it's like
I'm sure there's no.
So that's totally allowed. I mean, it's completely okay.
No, but if you find places that have textured wood or rocks or water. Or a combination there. Well, it's like the covered bridges. You give them that, and there's enough of those. But so that's like that's a beautiful trinity of water, rock, and wood, all in the same place. And then I throw in the flesh of the individuals, and then you get there's the fourth texture. Okay. So, I'm always looking for new places of inspiration. I've been fortunate in that we started at our home, which. We're surrounded by beautiful wood, so I really just started there and just kind of expanded on from there. So I don't know, but if anybody sees the work and says, you know what, I can think of a wonderful place, please, absolutely, would love that.
So now opening night is October 7th.
Opening night is this Saturday, October 7th. It's 6 to 9 p.m. We're having our opening night reception. Please stop by, and there's going to be a lot of art going on that night too. There's an opening at the Art Center as well that night.
Oh, really?
So big jury show. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So but there's an opportunity to see a lot of great art.
Oh yes. As a matter of fact, that is the Maker's Alley juried art show that he's referring to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We're going to talk about them. I ran into Peter Rosenthal just recently.
Oh.
You know him, I guess.
He's
the one from Maker's Alley, right? Yes. Okay. And it's 43 Canal Studio. It's called
43 Canal Studio. The easiest thing to remember is if you find the New Hope Art Center.
Right.
Just take that sharp. Don't cross the canal. Just take the sharp right around the corner and go on the boardwalk, and you'll find us.
Like a little boardwalk there. And isn't there a stairway goes upstairs or something too, or what?
It's just a little ramp up to the to the boardwalk.
Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely. And what are the from 6 to 9? 6 to 9 p.m.
From 6 to 9 p.m. Yes.
Okay.
And go ahead.
No, so it opens October 7th, but it will be there until October 31st.
We'll be there through the end of the month, and I don't know if it's okay to say that. So, because this is coming out and sort of,
right.
But there's a local not-for-profit that might benefit from.
Okay.
Well, we being a nonprofit,
yes, we're a 501c3.
Fairly friendly. Toward
You're fairly friendly.
Yes.
So if anybody ends up taking any of these stuff home, it'll benefit local not-for-profit New Hope Celebrates, which their mission is
perfectly fine.
Yeah. Okay, I don't.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, Andy
That's
is
what we do
about this stuff, but no, I don't. That's not true at all. Not true at all.
Right.
But I want to, but thank you.
We do. Just as a matter of not joking, we celebrate because we are a nonprofit organization and we exist on the generosity of people who support us, listeners who support the radio station. we welcome and embrace other nonprofits in the organization within the WDVR country listening area.
Yeah.
Because these kinds of organizations we think are integral to the local texture, the flavor, and if you will, the health of the community. So
yeah, absolutely. I will say that in the short time I've been working to put this all together, I have met so many wonderful people, and there's been such serendipity. And I think, if nothing else, this whole venture has just been a coming out of me connecting more to our community. I mean, the fact that you and I met at that event, and I didn't even know about that event. I was going to go to another event that night.
Oh, really?
And then a friend said, well, I'm going to this event. So he ended up not going, but I went.
Yeah.
So we met. And then just the outpouring from whether it's other not-for-profits and the artist community around here. Like there's there's just such open arms, and everyone's so supportive of one another, and it's really wonderful. And it's so I'm very happy to be and
I would like to say, just I have to add, for people who are listening to this radio, because you can stream this radio station, so you could conceivably be sitting in Antarctica listening to this radio program. The thing for me, because I didn't grow up here, I'm from outside, as they say. So I didn't grow here, right? I didn't grow up here. But the thing that, if you ever doubted the importance of art in a community, you just have to move to this area, because you can see the difference it makes in terms of the health and vibrancy and just the general well-being of the community, I think.
Right.
So.
And we're happy to see you here. And so those kind of card exchange things, you should get out to those. It helps get the word out.
Oh,
Great events.
I used to do more of them pre-2020. But for some reason, I sort of backed off a little bit.
Right. Okay.
Something go on.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel Gramkee, and you can check this out. All this information will also be on the Let's Talk WDVR Facebook page, and that's called Bucks in Bucks, Photographic Images of Athletes as Art at 43 Canal Studio in New Hope, and we will see you there October 7th. It's this Saturday night from 6 to 9 p.m., but it will be there all month from October 7th until October 31st. Let's Talk. We'll be back in just a moment.